You guys are here on your second wave of brew releases, I should say.
We did that sampling on the square in Oskaloosa. We released our Make Waves Amber Ale, our Lowbrow Brown Ale, and our Brew in Town Belgian Wheat. And you know, first impressions, people seem to like it. It's in the stores, it's selling well. It's been going for a couple of weeks now. And this last week we then releasing just our next 2 out of 8. One of them is it's called the Yoga Poser Pale Ale, and it is our hoppiest beer. It's not an IPA, we call it an American Pale Ale, an APA. Not quite bitter enough for an IPA, but it's clean, it's pretty crisp, citrusy. It's got citra hops in it, dry hops, so it's pretty good. The other one is our gluten full blonde ale, and it's just for people who are wondering, we didn't add gluten to it. It's just a play on the West Coast trends of being gluten-free, and it says right on the can, nothing in life is free. So it's kind of fun, kind of play with it a little bit, but it's a blonde ale, 7%, so it's a little higher alcohol. Again, very clean, very crisp. We like it.
Some different names, but that kind of comes with the craft beer industry. So does it take a little craft beer to come up with the creative names, or do they just happen on their own?
No, it takes some thought, it takes some time. You throw a lot of ideas out there and you reject a bunch, and then sometimes you go back and look at the ones you rejected and decide, oh, that works good. But we always tried to stay within brand, and our brand is a no-nonsense, Midwestern, work ethic brand. So we do poke fun at the trends, and the coasts has our name, it infers. But that's kind of who we are. We'll have our middle festo here so that people will be able to read a little bit about who we are, and that middle festo describes us, and it's on every can. So
you have had a little journey yourself into the craft beer industry.
I have.
And I believe there was some teaching there. So kind of talk us through, so folks know that your lineage in the craft beer industry.
Just kind of how I started and how I ended up where I am today.
Yes, sir.
I started out brewing beer as a college student. But then I took a break from it for many years, and I ended up at Indian Hills teaching the bioprocessing program. And at that program, we teach students how to make fuel ethanol. And so the process is very similar. I got back into home brewing. Then I started teaching courses at the community college in the evening on home brewing, and then I just decided this area needs another brewery. So I started looking around for investors to open my own brewery. And I was looking in Ottumwa, and I was looking in Oskaloosa, and I was looking in Sheraton. I ended up making a presentation to the owners at Mahaska, and actually I was looking for investors for a brewery. And after a couple-hour pitch, they basically said, we're not really interested in investing in someone else's business, but we've been talking about doing this for many years. Would you like to come do it for us? And I said, make me an offer. So they did, and a year later now, here we are with a brewery, and we're in the market, so it's exciting.
And that year's been full of secrecy and intrigue.
It has.
Have you enjoyed that?
I have at times. It's been very difficult to not share with people where we are and what we're doing, and the branding. We were so excited about the labels, and that's why it's fun to see these roll out. It's taken a lot of time and a lot of work to put together our branding and the labels, and deciding that we're going to go with cans instead of bottles, and buying the canning line and the labels, the label applier, and it's been fun. So from the very beginning. Yeah, it was secret because we were just waiting for all the pieces to come together. But now that they're together, we're ready to roll.
And it seems like on outward appearances that you guys are having fun with what you're doing.
If it doesn't look like that, then we're not doing it right. So yeah, we're having fun. We are having fun. She posted on Melanie posted on our Facebook page, all of us with our yoga poses today. It was fun. We had a good time doing it, but that's our introduction to our Yoga Poser Pale Ale. So yeah, those are the kind of things that we enjoy.
So is your favorite yoga pose the 12-ounce curl?
I don't know any yoga. Melanie had to tell me what I had to do, so I don't know anything about yoga. So
how have the beer critics accepted your beer so far?
So far, most of the comments are very positive. I haven't heard very many negative ones, but honestly, I'm not sure how many people are going to come right up to me as the brewer and tell me they don't like my beer. But it's starting to get some reviews on Untapped and some of the other beer sites. So, and those all seem to be fairly positive. So we're pretty excited about it.
And as you're steering down this path, you're early on. What kind of course corrections do you see maybe you guys looking towards?
I think what we're going to do is we're going to start looking at the 8 beers that we have labels for and see which ones we're going to really push and have year round. Some of those labeled beers, probably those 8 beers, will eventually not be year round beers based on popularity or based on seasonal trends. It's tough for a small brewery to keep 8 beers fully stocked year round. So those corrections will take place, and then who knows, we might come up with something else that we decide to develop a label for and slap in a can. But until our tap room opens, some of our experimental stuff isn't really available. So
there's a certain connoisseur and certain,
there is,
much like wine, some things pair better with others. So we were talking about seasonal kinds of beers. How would you see, like the dark? Would that be a winter type of beer?
That tends to be the way people think of it. The darker beers are winter beers or fall beers. We're going to be bringing our stout out probably next week in a can. That's the darkest, strongest beer we have. We also have a rye porter, and we're probably not going to come out with that till later in October, November. Just trying to keep up with the ones that we're moving forward with. But you're right. As we come up on spring, the Belgian Wit and the Pilsner, which also we haven't released yet, will all become more popular, and even the blonde and the pale ale will be more popular probably through the summer. So it just seems to be lighter beers tend to be people associate with summertime. But personally, I could drink a stout year round.
I think at the opening we heard somebody else that much agreed with you, that they like their stouts.
Yes.
So for those and coming up with those beers, how do you make one that's, without going into trade secrets, of course. But I'm sure there's a basic recipe for making a blonde and a stout.
Yeah.
So how does that happen? How do you end up with a blonde, and how do you end up with a dark?
Well, you decide what you want to make, and what I decide what I want to make is what I like, generally. So all the beers that we make are beers that they're styles that I like. So if I want to make a stout, I kind of have in my mind the flavor or the strength or that I want. Do I want it roasted? Do I want it malty? How much do I want of that? And then you can do a lot of reading on styles and guides on what usually are kind of malts are included in those kind of beers historically and in regions where they were originally made. And then you just start putting malts together and experimenting, and then again, it's not like cooking where you can cook it in an hour and taste it and decide, no, I'm going to change a little something, and an hour later you can see what that tastes like. You have to wait a month. So it takes a long time to develop a recipe, and I spent the most of the time probably on my stout because I like stouts so much. But this is probably a 8th or 9th version of my stout until I got it the way I liked it. So
do you have a select group of insider taste testers with distinct palates that helped you develop that?
No, actually, most of these recipes were developed when I was a home brewer, so it was mostly just making something that I liked. We do have a sensory panel at the brewery that we've been training on how to detect off flavors in beers. So some of those chemicals that are produced either during fermentation that produce these flavors that are generally not considered advantageous or they're bad. So we've trained them how to identify those, and so we will be using them for part of our quality control as we start releasing new ones. But it's kind of crazy right now. We haven't implemented our sensory panel yet for some of our latest releases, but that will be a standard practice here in the very near future.
And you alluded to the tap room.
Yeah.
And if I'm remembering right, that's probably what, November, December-ish, something like that.
Yes, it is. That's still the same timeline. If all goes well, if all the stars align, hopefully we'll have the tap room open November, December. It would have been nice to have had it open now, but it is what it is.
well, you're out here enjoying fine folks on the
We
beach,
are.
so. And your tap room is going to offer the ability for people to come in and sample things that they may not be able to get in a can. Is that kind of the plan?
Absolutely. Obviously, the ones that we do have available in cans will also be available in the tap room. But any of our experimental stuff, some of which are here tonight, that we'll be tasting tonight, the only way to get people to taste them and give us their feedback is to really put them in a tap room. We could put them in other bars, but we don't get that personal interaction with what they think, and that's what we need from those experimental stuff. And some of it, we don't really even ever plan on going to cans with it. It's just fun to try and let people come in and try new stuff. That's the beauty of experimentation.
Do you enjoy that interaction, or maybe you get your feelings hurt too if somebody sours up their face and they're like, "Oh, that was bad."
No, yeah, and I get that. You get that sometimes, and you have to, that's okay. I mean, every beer is going to have someone who likes it and someone who doesn't. That's just the way it is. Luckily, most of it's been positive. But there have been a few, ooh, that's not for me, and they just set it aside, and I say, okay, well, thanks for trying.
It's much like the stout to a complete blonde. There's a whole range in there.
There's a whole range in there, and yeah, everybody's gonna like a beer, and everybody's not gonna like a beer. It's just the way it is. There's someone out there that's gonna love it, and someone that's gonna hate it.
Have you been getting that feedback from the distributor chain of things?
Yeah, the best feedback we get is every day, how many more cases do we need to take to stock them up? And it's starting to pick up. And we really this week have really expanded our distribution. So again, Melanie can talk to you more about that. But that's our best feedback. Also, people provide feedback online, but really what's telling us is how the cases are moving out of the stores. And I know that there's going to be an interest in a first-time push. People want to go try it, and so they're getting a lot. The real tell will be a month from now. Are they still moving out the store as fast as they are? It's the return customer. That's what we really need to make this successful.
And speaking of that, because everybody gets a surge as they try something.
Sure.
How are you or your plans for working for that phase in between releases of new beers, so that you maintain a positive atmosphere and a positive flow?
In between beers,
Yeah.
well, luckily we're going to spread our beers out a little bit, so there's always some news to talk about, and that helps a lot. Other than that, it's just going to be events to maintain our positive flow and keep the beer moving. That's the best we can do right now, is just to let people know who we are.
Yes, the official title is events coordinator, but I also run the social media and do a lot of the marketing pieces for them. So I've learned a lot.
I waited for a month. I think I drove you all nuts.
Yes, definitely. Like, where are you going to get it? And that's probably the most frequently asked question that we've got right now. Currently, I have been buying our beer at the Oskaloosa Hy-B. They've been pretty on top of it over there. We're also located at Wiggs in Oskaloosa. I got word that we're at the Cork and Bottle. We're at several Hy-Bs, including Sheraton, Centerville, Pella. So a lot of the Hy-Bs can find us right now. We're working on gas stations and liquor stores. We're on tap here at On the Green. We're also on tap at Saints Pub, Ottumwa. And we're also can be found at the Hy-Bs in Ottumwa. And Mad Ave Quick Shop, so they're a really big supporter. And everyone that we've worked with so far, we've gotten to go talk to them, and we've gone to a couple different samplings at Hy-Bs and at Saints. And at a couple other events, and it's been really cool, kind of meeting a lot of different people.
I can say that, and that's something that you guys, during the launch, you've gotten a chance to get out and meet and hear a lot of folks. You've gotten a chance to see the reaction to the beer. How has this whole experience impacted you?
Well, I love things that bring people together. I think that was a big reason that I was interested in the position in general. I just really enjoy any aspect. I really liked working with William Penn University because the education, you meet so many different people and they're all gathering for a common purpose, which was a higher education. And with craft beer, it's a little different. Everyone's gathering to enjoy a good glass of beer. But it's such a complex and friendly industry. I've had such a blast meeting all the different types of beer enthusiasts. There are some people who are the domestic beer lovers, and have tried some of our stuff. The Belgian wheat seems to be really popular with them, and they try it and they're really impressed. I know that I brought it home to my family in northern Iowa, and they weren't huge fans at first, but then they asked me to bring more next time I visit. So I've definitely seen a lot of different types of people, and we've gotten a lot of really positive reception, and I hope to just kind of keep that going.
And events like this are probably your main focus with NoCoast.
Yep. Anything that can kind of get the name and the brand out there and get people together to try our beer who maybe otherwise wouldn't have done so if they were just sitting at a bar and saw our tap handle or saw our cans. The cans are really colorful, and I've seen that they tend to sell themselves. But events like these can really bring people out and have them get to know us more. That's really the big goal with these. Is we're new, and we really need to build some of these local relationships. We want them to get to know us, and we want to get to know them.
It's hard to get you beer in every bar.
Yep, it's a slow process. I mean, right now our cooler is full. We did so much canning the last 2 days. Canning is probably my favorite thing to do right now. And it is kind of a slower process to get out there, but it's also a very personal process. I like that about the small craft beer industry. It's not just sending your beer out to as many places as possible. It's people going to these retail managers and saying, hey, this is who we are, this is what we do, and really making those relationships. So even though it is a slow process, I think it's very friendly in the sense that you take time with every business that you work with to build that relationship before you get out there. Support local has just been a huge element to getting out there right now. We say we're from NoCoast and we're brewed right here in Oskaloosa, and their eyes light up because everyone takes a really positive ownership over a business that's in their own backyard. So when it's happening right next to you, you have a tendency to really want to support it and really want to see it thrive because it brings economic development, it brings new opportunities, and it just brings this just awesome vibe to the town.
You made the guys do yoga.
Yes.
For social media.
Yes, I did. Sometimes I make them pose for pictures for social media, and sometimes it annoys them, and sometimes they really get into it. So I'm definitely thankful for a team that kind of supports my shenanigans.
So the yoga positions, what position did you put or Chuck into today?
Well, yeah, I try to remember. I wanted him to do the Warrior, and I showed him the Warrior 2, which is like right here, and it kind of turned into a more of like a superstar Hamilton type of Broadway move. But I mean, he really rocked it. He really committed to it. So you need to get John to commit to his Karate Kid pose a little bit more. And Bobby just was really good at standing still with his yoga pose. So. Well, we'll be putting all our events out on our website soon. We've been working with our website company to get that page set up. So in addition to our social media channels, and that's all NoCoast Beer Co. That's the handles of all the social media on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Our events will also be visible on our website. We are going to try to get out there as much as possible, kind of not only sell our beer to people, but also bring people in and have them get excited about beer.